Yes. Siesta Ocho. That is Patatique. No, that isn't Patatique. That's Suerte something or other. Patatique. Good heavens, that's Beethoven. He just had his 250th birthday or something. I'm mixing metaphors, but that's my middle name. And we want to welcome Fairfield Media Center into the house here with the one and over Jason Strong and also Michael Halley. This is James Moore. You are inside the City Business Haps right here at solar-powered KRUU-FM, 100.1 on your FM dial, and also KRUU-FM.com on the worldwide interwebs. Michael Halley, it's almost Christmas. You're here. Something must have happened at City Hall. How you doing?
Good. I'm glad to be here.
Good to see you. What do you got?
Good to see you. Well, we just had the one meeting in December as per our tradition. Try to give us a little break. And I thought maybe it would be really long, but it's about 90 minutes.
Not too bad. Ice skating party then? No.
I wish. Maybe next time. It's not cold enough yet.
I know. I say that almost, well, it was tongue-in-cheek because I think we just have enough cold weather to actually have the puddles be at least starting to be iced.
Yeah, just a little bit. But, yeah, it's going to be...
Not complaining, by the way. Green grass. It's good.
Rainy Christmas this year. All right.
What do you got, sir?
You know, we always do these approval of the liquor license. Now, those are updated annually. So you got Isla, Flamingo Lanes, places that have already had it. But one I noticed, Under the Sun Brewery is new. So I asked...
yes.
I believe that's the building by the tracks on 4th Street. That may actually be almost ready to open. And
I know that building and the folks there that have been talking about that for decades. Folks. So it's Under the Sun Brewery.
Under the Sun Brewery is the name that they got their liquor license. Excellent. Apparently it has a bar area, dance floor, stage for a band. So I'm really excited to see inside. But our code enforcement officer, Scott Vaughn, police chief, had to inspect. He was telling me he said it's really nice in there. So
well, they've done a bang up job. One of the guys that's worked there, John Shermer, has done some of the design or actualizing that. He's the fellow that won the Fairfest poster design.
Okay.
And a great. I've been inside. It is very, very impressive.
Well, I'm looking forward to it because I remember going there maybe back 8 years ago.
Okay.
When it was very industrial. It was still much like it probably was when it was used.
It will blow your mind. Yeah. Just the way the artwork that they've done, the attention to detail, the flooring, the whole. It is let's just say it's more than 9 yards. I'd say it's about a whole football field.
Yeah. Well, they got the new roof. They added light, some windows up there. Put around the stone around the outside. So if the inside's anything like the outside, I'm sure it's going to be great.
It is. And so this license means that they're going to be able to serve
alcohol.
Excellent.
Yeah.
How soon does that take place?
Well, once we approve it, we're basically the last little step in the chain.
Gotcha.
It's actually through the Iowa Alcohol Division.
Right.
That we just locally give our little stamp of approval and more or less that we keep a record. Any establishment that sells alcohol has to, as part of their application, set an area that is the serving area or the bar area. For example, Arbor Bar, it's the main floor, maybe not the basement, not the upstairs. So that comes into play when it as an establishment is being considered in terms of access to restrooms and crowd, control in terms of if there were a fire and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know what their plans are. I haven't heard anything in the press. But when I saw that and I talked to Scott Vaughn, I got a little bit excited because I like new places here in town. I
tell you what, it'll be a splash. We know the Cider House has done such a wonderful job, speaking of other bars, and great acclaim for the city. I think they just got written up in a national hamburger journal of one of the best in the country. They
Didn't
won
even know
Iowa.
There were national hamburger journals, but that's pretty cool.
Well, something like that I saw. Yeah.
Well,
I think there's contests and awards and ratings for almost everything.
Oh, yeah, right. You're right. All right.
The best DJ with the Kansas City cap in this room goes to... Anyway, sorry.
Nice, I like that.
No eggnog. This is just me. I don't know what...
Hey, it's that time of year. Public forums appearances. We heard from our friend Dan Miller, the Jefferson County Environmental Health Office. Every December he comes and talks about radon.
Right.
It's the invisible, odorless gas that is a natural occurring result of uranium in the soil.
And I don't mean to smile. It's very serious business.
It is serious.
It just always strikes me as one of those radon, like a guy with an R on his chest, you know.
Maybe there should be Captain Radon. Maybe he should dress up as Captain Radon.
Dan, are you listening?
Yeah, next year.
I'm sure he appreciates that.
So
but it's serious business.
It is serious. And Iowa, as a state, has the highest levels of any state. And every time he tests, it seems about 50% of the homes come up with higher than average or higher than recommended levels. And when they're higher, he said it's like smoking 8 packs of cigarettes a day in terms of the damage to your lungs. So every year they get sponsorships. I think Kiwanis sponsored them last year to give around 50 free radon kits away to the public. They'll announce exactly what time and where. It's always at the office on North 8th Street out there, but they'll find out when and then do the sample. They say do it, take the sample on your lowest level occupied space. So if you have a finished basement, do the basement. If you don't have a finished basement, do the first floor. And that'll test your
in other words,
quality.
If you have a higher count in the basement, but you're never down there, it's not as critical. Obviously, it's that you're actually breathing this stuff.
Exactly. Yep.
And the thing about radon, if I remember correctly, is that there's no smell.
Exactly.
So it's sort of like
smell.
a little.
Yep.
You don't want to make people freaky, but it's like it's a good thing to be checked.
It is. So.
And is that like more likely for it to be checked older buildings and so forth, or how is it?
Yes, actually, he mentioned that new buildings, new construction has radon proofing. In a sense, they seal the basements and the space is better, so it doesn't get in. So he said all daycares are required to do testing, schools, so any place there are children, they're required, but most places aren't required, so that's why they give away the free kit so people can get them tested.
And how do people go about that? He was reporting to you, but otherwise you can find out through the paper.
Yeah, and if you don't want to try to wait to get one of the free ones, you can buy one. They're not that expensive, and they're sold at pretty much any home repair store. I mean, they may even have them at the big box stores as well.
And they're easy to do, huh?
Yeah, relatively easily. So highly recommended. Every year we do the same thing. We declare January Radon Action Awareness Month, and they give out the kits. So it's
I suppose part of the reason there is because obviously windows are closed for a longer period of time.
In the winter, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so exposure would be higher. All right, we also heard from a lady in town about displeasure about the home business permit rate increase. So since probably the 70s, the city charged $10 for that license to have a home business and raised it, I believe, earlier this year to $50. Now, there's a big jump in terms of 5 times. Dollar amount, it probably should have gone up $10 a decade to get us where we are. It'll most likely stay at $50 for decades. So it's not something that the council reviews that often, but she was saying, well, for me, that might not be worth it to continue. She was offering music lessons and might not be worth it if she had to pay that much. So you hate to lose people who are doing, making a little money, and she's a senior citizen, so she was able to supplement income a little bit through that. Now, at the same time, you hope that someone, if they're doing a home business, that it's profitable enough that the $40 difference isn't a make or break. But I suppose it depends on how much business a person does. So she just wanted to express that, and that's her right to express her dissatisfaction with that.
But that was part of the array of, there were a number of things.
A bunch of things, yeah. And some went up, 10%, 20%. That one just went up 500%.
Right.
So that was quite a big jump.
Which is a big jump, yeah.
It is. If you're used to 10 and suddenly it's 50. All right, we moved on. We had a bunch of little house cleaning things.
Well, it's that time of year, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, wait, no, is that spring? I don't know. I'm giving myself away.
Well, every year we give a little bit. This is like $4,000 some to Area for regional planning, and that's our contribution. But they do work for us, so it's we're giving to something that benefits us in the whole area. We awarded the asbestos testing, and that's for the facade projects around Central Park, around downtown. That'll be done next year. And we had to amend. Oh, this one's big, actually. Not in a good way.
Oh.
Can you undo that? I like
right.
that. I like that you tried to take that back. That was good.
Yeah, you had to be here, folks.
Yeah.
It's one of those things on radio. You can't really tell, but
You can't, but it was great. The wastewater plant had initially been all the upgrades that were required to be in compliance with DNR rulings. The budget for those upgrades was about $12 million, which is no small chunk of change at all. And the company we've been working with, McClure Engineering. Yep, that's it.
McClure.
Mm-hmm. Has obviously, this is what they do, and they've worked with the DNR quite a bit. And they put together a plan for the upgrades that they were certain the DNR, or relatively certain the DNR would approve. And the DNR gave kind of a first initial approval when you might say skim read, but once they got into it, DNR recommended many changes that will bump the price up considerably. Huh. He gave some examples. The gentleman from McClure gave some examples of burying pipes lower, and so the whole the main pipe that comes to the plant will be 9 feet lower, which means the headworks where the water first comes in and gets the first screening has to handle that, and pumps have to be more powerful to move the water up. They wanted an additional oxidation ditch, which is kind of a big deal. Everything they wanted enhanced the capacity of the plant to take in more water, say in the high rain events, and handle it. So it's not bad. It's just that they're making us build a bigger plant, and
which of course costs more,
$6 million more. So it goes from 12 to 18 basically. The silver lining is that those USDA grants, we can apply for the total 18. So hopefully with the grants, the 6 won't be 6. It'll be a portion of it. So
I thought you were going to say the silver linings, it's going to be lined with silver. But
Nope. We try to use...
Probably be a little bit more than that.
Try to use more affordable materials.
By the way, you're listening to City Business with James Moore and Michael Halley, 4th Ward City Councilman. And this is our festive holiday onesie. Only one meeting this month, and so I'm a bit giddy. Michael seems very composed, and will continue now. You'll be able to hear this report after each City Council meeting, the Tuesday following, Thursday dinner time, 6:30 p.m., and then the following Monday, 6:30 a.m. And you can go to Fairfield Media Center anytime if we get the audio promptly there, and check out Michael in living color, Technicolor.
And James, his animated...
Well, I try to clump over from the side, I'm doing my best, James Dean.
But he's fun to watch. You're more fun to watch.
James Dean is a grandfather without kids.
There you go.
Okay, back to you, Michael.
This is great. So this will help pay for that $6 million upgrade.
Okay.
We sold a property sold a house on the property by the wastewater plant.
Right. For
a whopping $3,000 some.
Okay.
So I was just making that joke, but yes,
that goes a short way to. But we talked about this last time.
Otherwise it was going to be burnt down, by the fire guys, just doing some training. So somebody's going to get some use out of it.
Good.
So they have to get it off of there by March, I think. But at least it's being reused. That's a good green and benefit.
Yep.
All right, this was the house cleaning. We'd borrowed these general obligation bonds from way back in January of this year, so coming up on almost a year ago. And the local banks bought them, but there was some disconnect between what this bank in New York was sending in terms of payments, and so we had to reword it and amend it, and then we're doing it again. So it's just cleaning up the language so that the payment amounts come in the right amount. I guess they were rounding up to the nearest $5, and then they rounded to the dollar, and now we're asking them to round to the cent so that the payment are right. So we have this gentleman, Travis Squires, who came all the way from Des Moines to tell us that, and to tell us that we're not quite ready to move on the notes for the wastewater. He's like, we're almost ready, but there's one more piece of the puzzle he's to get before we can go. So that seemed like a long way to drive just to tell us, but we appreciated his efforts.
Well, a great place to visit, particularly this time of year, Fairfield, Iowa.
That's right. But at the same time, he's got a wife and kids at home. Maybe we could Skype him in or something. I'm gonna look into that. See, spare that guy a drive.
Well, it would save the environment.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem proper. We finally got an easement, a very important easement for the wastewater line that comes south of Lamson Woods. We decided instead of a cash amount, we're doing in-kind work. We're going to add lateral lines when the sewer line gets put in on this gentleman and his wife's property that will get it development ready.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do the work. They'll accept that as payment for both the temporary easement during construction and a permanent easement once the line is in. So that was good news because that was the last one we needed for the step one conveyance.
Nice. A lot of details, huh?
Yep. All right, this next one I'm going to talk about as unbiased as I can because something I was working on was initially the parking lot for the new gym was going to be paid for by these SRF loan interest forgiveness grant kind of thing that we didn't end up...
Easy for you to say.
We didn't end up using, so we lost that grant money.
Right.
So then there was talk of doing a one-time transfer from the wastewater utility to pay for the lot, which really bothered a lot of people in the public. But I actually looked into many cities that have utilities. Most cities have a wastewater and water utility, but some also have electric. A lot of times they'll use funds generated from those utilities for
other
non-utility.
things.
Yeah, they just put it in their general fund and use it. So while it seemed inappropriate to many, it's not uncalled. It's not unheard of.
Mm-hmm.
But the argument was the council said, no, we need those funds to stay there because there's so many expenses in that whole
realm.
So that made sense, and that was what was decided. So then, like, well, what are we going to do with that area? Well, it was decided to use $67,000 of contingency funds that were unspent so far in the project to put in a gravel lot north of the gym. I asked if we could just not start on that yet until we checked in with some of the donors who had made the gym project possible to see if they would be willing to pay the difference between the council 67 and whatever it costs to put in a concrete lot. So
quite a bit more, though, right? Isn't it?
Well, we actually asked, once we found we had some interest in having that paid for by private donations, City Administrator Mike Harmon asked the construction manager to get a bid. Instead of, we were going off of engineers' estimates, which was $250,000-ish.
Mm-hmm.
The bid came in at $155,000, and that's a real bid for the exact work. It wasn't scaled down.
Much less than
Yeah, it just came in better. So we have that one.
Still a chunk, but yeah.
Yep. So we took, subtract off what the city had. Two separate donors were willing to make up the difference, and the only thing that was still left was between $14,000 and $10,000 that we didn't have in hand, but our main fundraiser was certain he could get. So we bring this to the council last night, and with the expectation that, hey, this makes a lot of sense. We could pay the same as we would for gravel, but we'll get concrete. Concrete is easier to maintain. Gravel costs money to maintain. Concrete won't track in gravel into the gym, which will keep that nice. And as Tony Hammis said, no-brainer. But apparently 3 of 6 council members, we were missing one, didn't want to do it. Felt that there was some potential hidden cost, or, well, what if we didn't get that last little bit? Then we'd be on the line for it. So it was a 3-3 vote, which means it failed. Now,
the mayor doesn't step in those kind of votes?
And that's exactly what Tony asked. He said, I wish if I could have, I would have, to pass it. But no, the mayor does not have a tie-breaking vote. That's why the council is an odd number.
Oh, I thought that was the case.
No, not in our system of government.
Okay.
So, so that proposal failed. That doesn't mean it's over, because potentially, and this is my intuition tells me, and I don't have anything to go off, I'm just talking from having talked to some of these donors, I think they'll step up to the point where they will offer the council that the city's contribution would be even maybe a little less with the concrete option, making it so that it's not an even wash, but that going with the concrete, that they would pay their share plus some. So say could be just a couple thousand. So you have a gravel for 67, or we'll do concrete for, say, your contribution could be 65. Some little offer you can't refuse type scenario where I just can't.
Well, can it come up for another vote? And a council person must have been missing. Is that right?
Yeah, but regardless, even if we just had a quorum, which is 4, and 2 voted for and 2 voted against, that's a failure. So it has to be a majority of whoever's present. So it can't come back up. That is allowed especially if it was a different proposal.
I see.
It's not just the same one, bringing it back. It's something different. So we'll see.
Who voted against? Can we?
Oh, sure. Martha.
It must be on the record.
Rasmussen.
Okay.
Jessica Ledger-Kalin and Darren Hamilton. And reasons ranging from it seems like a stretch that we shouldn't be doing right now to I believe there may be hidden cost here.
Right, as you mentioned.
To nothing. No reason given. So
right. Well,
that's their prerogative.
That's democracy in motion, folks.
It is. So, again, though, if an offer were made that made the concrete option actually cost the city less to build and maintain, I don't know who says no to that, because I think from what I've gathered from the input in this whole discussion in these last couple months, is that the council members who are pushing for the gravel feel that that's fiscally responsible, that that's appropriate, that the city should just spend as little as possible on a parking lot for the gym. So if we get a scenario where the fiscally responsible option is to spend less but get concrete, where we actually spend less to get the parking lot paved and then the maintenance costs are less, that's the most fiscally responsible option that could be presented. So we'll see if that comes down the line.
Yeah, I guess unless they think if somebody's going to give this much money, they'd give it anyway to something else, and that's always one. But I mean, it
doesn't work that way, and that's we talked about that before, where someone's like, "Why are you wasting money on trails when we need our sewer?"
Or why somebody doing a skate park when we this or that? I mean, it's like people get to put up.
Yep. If it's a donation, they earmark it to what they want, and so.
But interesting.
It is interesting. So that's that. I'm running a little out of time. We passed the final reading of the alcohol server ordinance and never heard from a single alcohol establishment. No one said, "Hey, I don't like this," and it was out in the paper, and we've talked about it several times here. So,
and you sent something out, I think, to everybody. Right?
I wanted to, but it
didn't happen.
It didn't get done. So I would like to see that. If I had a little more say in things, I think I'd like to see that if it wasn't a requirement, just as a courtesy.
Yeah.
We always follow the law in terms of requirements, but this would just be like hey, just so you know, this is going to affect you. All right. Also, the mayor talked about having a special meeting on January 4th, and that'll be a swear-in.
Hey, you can't swear.
You can.
Okay, swear in. Oh, I saw there's a swear-in. We're going to have a swear-in there.
We're going to swear.
Yo, moto. Okay, no, I swear in.
Swear in.
Okay.
So Darren Hamilton and Martha Rasmussen returning, and Tom Thompson and Katie Anderson. Well, Tom Thompson's kind of returning from a hiatus, and Katie Anderson, new council member, so they'll be sworn in.
Right.
And then we have a little bit of business, but that'll be January 4th at noon.
January 4th at noon, a swear in.
Swear in. I swear it'll be cool.
It'll be a new year.
It will.
New council blood, as it were.
So
what else you got there? We're just about out of time.
Yep.
I hear Dennis Ramundi in the background.
Well, Ways and Means had considered a request from our airport committee to use about $12,000 from lost funds, local option sales tax, to pay for furnishings. Apparently, their budget didn't include furnishings, or they tried to stretch it as far as they could.
Mm-hmm.
So some of the people who voted no for the parking lot voted yes, actually. It really confused me, but I guess furnishings for the airport seem legit. And something else did not. I got to stop. I got to be unbiased. All right, so we proved that one, and proved using $3,500, $4,500, somewhere in there, towards a housing study of sorts it'll be done by ISU students.
All right.
And they will look at empty lots within town and then also city ordinances or codes that maybe are keeping those from being developed.
Wow.
So it's this idea
Interesting.
of, they call it infill.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not necessarily on the peripheral edge of town, but just the spots around town where
Which there are some.
there are.
Mm-hmm.
Like why aren't they being developed, and what can we do to encourage development there?
Sort of like, what's up with that?
Exactly.
Obviously, somebody owns them.
Yep. Holiday hours real quick. City Hall will be closed at noon, Thursday the 24th, reopen Monday morning, the 28th.
You got that, folks? We're going to take a break. It's almost like Christmas break, isn't it?
It's almost like that.
Is that it?
That's all I got.
You suddenly got quiet. Wow. It's the first time, folks, in 15 years of doing city business. No, it's only been 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Well, speaking of out of here, my name is James Moore. Thank you so much for joining us this year. We'll see you next year right here, same time, same station, with Michael Halley, City Business, and the one and only Jason Strong. Stay tuned.